boys and girls, and all of God's children. Welcome to the Church School Neighborhood. I'm Sister Angie Spears, the excited South District Church School Superintendent, and my presiding elder is the Reverend Janet Jenkins Sturdivant of the South District of the Philadelphia Annual Conference. Again, we welcome you today, and what a wonderful lesson we have today. Our special word for the day is rebuild. Rebuild. Do you know what that word means, boys and girls? Well, both Patches and Buttercup have great examples that they do understand that word. Our lesson today, the topic is free to talk to God. It's in the book of Ezra, the 6th chapter, verses 1 through 12. And if you remember, we were in the book of Ezra last week, and in the middle of February, we were also in the book of Ezra. Ezra is a priest, and he seeks God's face. He is interested in going to God and saying, God, what is it that you would have me to do? He's very obedient. And God shows favor to Ezra by turning the hearts of the kings to help him in his mission. What Ezra wants to do is to go to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. And God softens the hearts of 3 kings in this process. Last week, we were in the first book of Ezra, and it was King Cyrus of Persia. In today's lesson, we're in chapter 6 of Ezra. It's King Darius. And then last month, when we were studying Ezra, it was the 7th chapter, and it was King Artaxerxes who gave Ezra the permission to take, I believe it was 2,000 men to go to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. It's a wonderful, wonderful honor. Let's go to Patches and Buttercup with their examples of rebuild. Buttercup, why don't you start first? As you know, Buttercup has a little sister named Daisy. Well, one day, Buttercup was working on a Legos project, and he was so excited. He was building a castle, and he was halfway through it when Daisy, well, she didn't know, Buttercup was working right behind his door to his bedroom. And Daisy comes gingerly in the room going, Buttercup, it's time for dinner. She had no idea that when she opened that door, the whole castle that he had started just fell. And Daisy felt so bad. And she said, Buttercup, let me help you. I am so sorry. And together, they put it back together. So certainly that's a great example of rebuilding. And Patches, what example did you want to give? If you remember when we first met Patches, he was telling us about a science project that he had put together. And he had spent, I think, at least 4 or 5 nights on this project. And the night before it was due to turn in, it was the middle of the night, they heard a big thump. And they go out, he runs out into the area as well as his mom and dad, and they think it was the family cat. And his project was all over the dining room floor. And what did you say your mother did? It was maybe 2 o'clock in the morning when this happened, so only a few hours before school was to start, and that project was due. Patches' mom says, Patches, I'll help you. We'll put this back together. And the mother helped, and they worked together, rebuilding the project. And in the end, it turned out very, very nice. Great example, Buttercup and Patches, of rebuilding. Let's go into our lesson. And I know that when you're in your church school class, you'll read the entire lesson. It's Ezra, the 6th chapter, 1 through 12. And in today's lesson, it's King Darius who is giving Ezra the what he needs to rebuild the temple. And when it starts out, King Darius first, he refers to the decree that was given by King Cyrus. And when he looks up that decree, because he wants to show the people, this is the king before me has already authorized that these things be done. And in that decree from King Cyrus, it was said, let the gold and silver vessels of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took out of the temple in Jerusalem and brought to Babylon, be restored and brought back to the temple. So he's saying, let everything that was taken away be restored. And then on top of this, now it is King Darius. He says, and this is our memory verse, verse 7, let the work on this house of God alone, let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews rebuild this house of God on its site. Moreover, I make a decree regarding what you shall do for these elders of the Jews for the rebuilding of this house of God. The cost is to be paid to these people in full and without delay from the royal revenue, the tribute of the province beyond the river. So again, he's making certain that they have everything that they need to successfully rebuild the temple. It's a beautiful, beautiful lesson. And I trust that we learned that when we want to do things for God, it's not just when God helps us. Sometimes we might look at something and go, oh, that's impossible. It's impossible for one person to do. But when we do things that God would have us to do, God will provide the resources that we need. Amen? Here's our memory verse. The memory verse is Ezra 6:7. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews rebuild the house of God on its site. And that's from Ezra, the 6th chapter, the 7th verse. Are you able to fill that out with us? Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews on its site. Are you able to fill that out with us? Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build the house of God on its site. And that's Ezra, the 6th chapter, the 7th verse. We trust that you'll join us on next week. Our lesson is it's obviously our quarter theme is God frees and redeems. And our lesson next week is free to celebrate Passover. And we're going to be in Ezra, the 6th chapter, verses 13 through 22. Until then, have a blessed week. Bye-bye.